Okay, I have kept from commenting on this topic for a long time. But I feel like at this stage of the course, we have to talk about carbenes. There are 4 types of reaction intermediates that are commonly encountered in organic chemistry. Those are the cations, carbocations. Those are anions, carbanions, carbon-centered radicals, and you guessed it, carbenes. So how can we have a 2-semester organic chemistry course and not encounter all 4 of the intermediates? Some people emphasize these more, some people emphasize them less. I'm definitely one of the people who talks about them less. What is a carbene? A carbene is a carbon that has 2 groups bonded plus a lone pair. Now, if you go through the formal charge count, you will find that this carbon technically has a formal charge of 0. Not technically, it simply does have a formal charge of 0. It also doesn't have a full octet. So this thing is kind of reactive. Carbenes aren't very commonly encountered, but they do exist. So to talk about how they form, or one of the possible ways they form, I want to go back to a different reaction. I want to talk about the E2 reaction. The E2 reaction is sometimes called a beta elimination. So, what does this look like? Well, we'll have a carbon, and we have other things off our carbon, and we'll have a halogen as a leaving group. Just write Br. And so we say the bromine as a leaving group is attached to the alpha position, and next door is the beta position. And we treat this with a strong base. Remove the beta hydrogen, kick out the bromide, and we make an alkene. And that was our E2 reaction. And how did that reaction work? Well, we removed a beta hydrogen, so sometimes people call that a beta elimination. Now let's talk about a different yet related process, and that is an alpha elimination. So now we have a leaving group. It's attached to a carbon, that is the alpha position. And if we treat this with a really strong base, it's actually possible to pluck off that alpha hydrogen. I'm not saying it's common, but it's possible. And as we dump the electron density on that alpha carbon, we end up losing our bromide. And if you follow what those electrons say, you are forming this species. And we know that this is, in fact, a carbene. So one way to form carbenes, it's often used to form carbenes, is through something called an alpha elimination. Certainly isn't the only way, but it's one of the common ways. Carbenes do all kinds of crazy chemistry. They insert into bonds, and actually they do a lot of very useful chemistry as well. But we can only cover so much, but I always try to dodge talking about carbenes, but this is what a carbene is, and it actually, if you stick with chemistry into graduate school, you'll certainly encounter carbenes. But at the undergraduate level, carbenes are typically not discussed with a lot of emphasis.